It's 6:45 on a Tuesday morning. You've got a buyer consultation at 10, 2 files in escrow, and a database you haven't touched in 3 weeks, and a list of 47 things that all feel urgent. So you're sitting there with your coffee asking the same question that you asked yesterday. What should I actually do today? Before this video is over, I'm gonna answer that question permanently with one free AI chat window, nothing else. Hi, I'm Coach Lucas, and I coach realtors on running simpler businesses, and I build AI systems for agents. Just a few weeks ago, one of the largest coaching organizations in real estate brought me in to teach their agents exactly this. Today, you are getting the whole thing. And before we start, the guide to turning this thread into a permanent coach that remembers your standards is pinned in the comments. Free, no email, and no sign up. Grab it now so that you have it when we get there. And here's the part that should stop you from clicking away. We are not opening 5 tools today. We are opening one chat thread. And by the end of it, that thread will know your economics, your plan, your milestones, your operations, and it will tell you exactly what to do tomorrow morning. So let's get to it. 3 things in front of you before we start. Last year's closed transaction count, your average commission per closing, the real one after your split, and a number for what you want to earn this year. If you have to guess at any of them, just guess and keep moving. A rough number beats an empty field, and you can fix it later in the same thread. Okay, step 1, and this is where everyone gets it backwards. You don't start by asking AI for a to-do list. You start by teaching it the economic math of your business. Most agents open a chat window and type some version of, "Help me build a real estate business plan." What comes back is beige, competent, but completely useless. It tells you to build your brand, nurture your database, and stay consistent on social media. None of that is wrong, but none of it is yours. The model gave you a generic answer because you handed it a generic question. It doesn't know what a closing is worth in your market, how many deals you actually closed last year, or whether you're a listing agent or a buyer's agent who has never held an open house. So before you ask it for anything, you feed it the math. All right, first things first is we go through what I call calibration. And just to recall the formula for doing an appropriate prompt into AI, we're first giving it its role. We are telling it the information, we're giving it context of what we actually need, and then we're giving it the specific output that we want. So here, let's just make believe that this chat thread knows nothing about me, so I'm going to paste in the exact prompt so that it gets to know me a little bit. First, I'm telling it that it's a cold analytical real estate business auditor. I want it to know who I am, and I want it to know how it should behave. So I'm gonna give it its instructions by telling it, you gotta be really objective, you gotta not take my BS, so you're a cold analytical real estate business auditor. I'm giving it my GCI target, I'm giving it my average closed transaction, my average GCI per unit, and I'm telling it what I closed last year, okay? Giving it my business split, and then I'm telling it exactly what I wanted to output. Now, for those of you that are wondering why I'm using Gemini, Google Gemini is a super generic, and it's one of the big 3 of the large language models. I encourage my agents that I coach to use it appropriately because of its ability to integrate into the Google Chrome browser. You can use any of your large language models of your favorite ones that you want, though. I'm literally AI agnostic when it comes to this kind of stuff. Okay, here we go. So it's giving me the target analysis. It knows that it's basically first, it's reiterating what I actually gave it. Okay, required transactions is 20 deals. Okay, audit verdict, high risk growth target. Here's what I really like about it. It's calling me out on my BS already. Now granted, if you are a seasoned real estate agent, you're gonna be like, well, year over year growth that you gave it is not that much, but the system's actually right to call it out. A 42.9% year over year growth increase is not inherently impossible, but without some operational changes, it trends toward fantasy. I love that it did this because it's telling me that I do have to focus on building systems that will actually support that goal. Let's see what else it says. Real estate performance is quarterly, not monthly. Spreading 20 deals out evenly per month. Ignores market velocity. Love that it did that as well. So a realistic seasonal closing distribution for this volume looks like this. This is your opportunity to push back. If you're in a market where quarter 3 might be a little bit stronger, or quarter 4 might be a little bit stronger, or perhaps you are in a vacation home market, here's your opportunity to push back on the actual plan that it's giving you. Okay, so I love that it ended with a question. So that's what we're gonna do. We are going to literally give it answers to the questions. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna paste in some answers that I had already come up with based on the fact that I knew what the AI was already going to ask me. So this is just for generic demonstrative purposes, but what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna answer these questions one by one. And then now you're gonna see what I actually want to actually show you is the output that it gives you. So it asked me what was my total lead count last year and what was my lead to close conversion rate. It also mentioned to determine if your current pipeline can support or handle 13 of your 20 closings stacked inside Q2 and Q3. What was my total lead count last year? Okay, so I gave it some generic answers. Okay, so I gave it what would typically be realistic answers of a real estate agent first. Most business comes from past client repeat referrals, right? I'm letting it know, hey, mixed lead stream, agent, portals, open houses, in Sphere. Total lead count, I'm giving it my actual numbers. I'm giving it my actual conversion rate as if I actually knew it. Okay, so lead analysis, gap analysis. So it's giving me all this stuff. I'm not going to actually read it verbatim just for this specific demonstration, but what we actually want to see here is the operational visibility audit. Okay, transaction coordinator is essential if I want to actually grow to what I actually want to be. Okay, showing assistant also equally is essential. Now, I don't know if I completely agree with that as a real estate coach. Based on your market and based on what the inventory looks like, you might be able to skip that. But I also do believe that a transaction coordinator with this specific, with the scenario that we're running for this make-believe agent, I do agree that a transaction coordinator is really essential. Okay, so we're going to skip this question because I do want to move on to the second prompt because we're going to get to the point where we're going to be starting to write playbooks all within this chat thread. Remember, this video is about how to write an entire real estate business plan from start to finish within one chat thread. So we're going to break back and then we will come back to this exact thread in just a minute. All right, step 2. Most business plans are 20 pages long and they all live in the same drawer. The one that we encourage our agents to create is only 1 page. It's 3 columns, and if a strategy doesn't fit in a column, it doesn't exist. Now, you've probably written some version of this before, maybe in the beginning of the year, maybe at a team meeting, and probably with a facilitator who's very excited about vision. It had a mission statement and a page on your ideal client avatar. Here's the annoying part though, you have not opened it since. That plan failed for a structural reason, not a discipline reason. It was built to be comprehensive instead of built to be used. A plan that you have to read is a document. A plan that you can see all at once, now that's a filter. I watch this play out on coaching calls constantly. An agent will read me their plan for a year and it will have 11 initiatives on it. And when I ask which one they worked on last week, the answer is none of them because they spent the whole week on a listing that fell out of escrow. The plan wasn't wrong. It was just too big to hold in your hand on a bad Tuesday. All right, and we're back. Still, same chat thread, and I'm sure that some of you may be tempted. Hey, keep going with it. Keep answering the questions from it. The thing is we've already told the AI that we want it to ask us questions. We want it to act like a real estate business coach, and that's great. But we're gonna skip this question and we're gonna give it a new prompt. Pop in this first prompt here. All right, so what we did was we said, now act as an elite results-focused real estate business coach. Same role, but just with a little bit of a different twist. And we're gonna say, using the calibration that we just completed, build me a 1-page business plan with exactly these 3 priorities. Now, these 3 priorities are my coaching design. Now, the reason is because they cover everything that's involved with a real estate business. It covers how you get clients, it covers how you continue to get referrals by giving a great client experience, and it covers the scale part of your business, how you wanna grow year over year. So under each priority, we're telling it list 3 focused strategies. For every strategy, define 4 things. What is the action? Who executes it? How much gets done? And how often does it happen? And again, I'm telling it who I am. I'm a solo agent with no assistant, a database of 250 people, and only 2 hours of true focus time per day. Keep it to 1 page. Let's see what it gives us. Priority 1, client acquisition, personal SOI conversations. And it's saying to direct phone call or personalized SMS using the Ford framework, which stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, Dreams. I did not actually feed it that content, by the way. It drew that from its own context related to what I told it I am. Like, I'm a real estate agent, so it brought in things from literature that maybe I had talked about, or perhaps even information that it found online. So here we go. So priority 1 is client acquisition. It knows that I need to get my business primarily from sphere of influence conversations. So it's giving me exactly that. How much? 5 completed conversations. How often? Monday through Thursday during focus block. I love that it did not automatically prescribe me 20 conversations a week, because who actually does that anyway? Okay, unsolicited equity checkups. So deliver concise 1-page home valuation. Again, this is still going right back to my database. What value are you providing your database? And I love that it still went there. Strategic open houses. Now, here's the part where you get to push back. If you're a real estate agent where you don't want to do something specifically that it is prescribing, tell it that so that it can give you a completely different plan. Okay, now it moves right on to priority 2, which is client retention and experience. It's telling me, give a hyperlocal market update. So send a data-driven email detailing neighborhood median price trends. Okay, how much? It's 1 email broadcast to all database contacts, and how often? Monthly, first Tuesday. That gives me an opportunity to actually do the research. VIP pop-by sprints. If you are a real estate agent and you have been licensed for a little while, then you're probably not a stranger to the pop-by. Let's keep plowing through. Automated milestone touch points. Love that it gave me that. Priority 3, efficiency and growth. It is drawing on information from context that I already gave it. Transaction coordinator, incredibly important based on the growth that I actually told it that I want to do. I want to go from something like 12 or 13 units all the way up to 20 with a big 42% jump like that. I need to protect my lead generation time. So it's giving me exactly what I need to do right off the bat. Okay, now just a quick reminder, this is not a generic business plan. This is a business plan that is catered toward what I have given my AI. This is a walkthrough on exactly how to make your business plan based on your goals, based on your working style. Nothing generic is here. Okay, protected daily focus block, execute priorities 1 and 2 in do not disturb mode, probably the most important thing that it's told us to execute right now. So that's the business plan in a nutshell, okay? In a nutshell, we literally have 3 different priorities. It tells us exactly how we're going to acquire the clients that we need by way of sphere of influence conversation, okay, equity checkups, and strategic open houses. So 2 database-driven strategies and 1 unmet people-driven strategy, meaning I need to go find people that I don't actually know yet, okay? Priority 2, client retention. It's telling me to make sure that I stay in touch with my database with what is actually going on in the market there. That's important for a few different reasons. And the reason why I like it so much is it frames you as the local economist of choice. Why is that so important? Because you're talking to your database constantly and providing them value and asking them for referrals. They should be getting something from you as well. Okay, and VIP client Popeye sprints. I really like this too because it isolates the people in your database that are probably giving you the most referrals. So to have something that is specifically special just for them is important. Okay, and then automated milestone touch points. This has everything to do with things within the transaction. So within the transaction, you might want to stay in touch with the people that are in mid-transaction more frequently than people who are not. Now, granted, it's also telling us that we need to hire a transaction coordinator as soon as possible. So some of those touch points can be leveraged. And as a coach for agents that are on all production levels, I know for a fact that it's incredibly important to your database that you stay in touch with them throughout the transaction. Okay, I love this. Now we're going to be on to the next step very soon. So that's it for the 1-page business plan. 1 page, 3 priorities, and every line on it survived 4 questions. That's the plan. The plan is also a filter. In May, somebody in your office is going to tell you about a new platform that's changing everything. Now here's what you do. Open the 1-page business plan. If whatever your colleague told you is not on it, the answer is no, and you didn't have to argue with yourself for a week to get there. The plan is the filter. Now, step 3 is where the thread stops being a chat and starts being a coach. We take the yearly number and reverse engineer it into what you're doing between 9 and noon tomorrow. The gap sits in the middle and almost nobody closes it. You have a goal for the year and a list of things to do today and no honest connection between them. You'll do 11 tasks today and not one of them will move the number, and you won't find out until the quarter closes. This step has a name in coaching circles. It's called a 411. And if you came up in a brokerage that used one, you already know what I'm about to build. If you didn't, the name tells you nothing, so ignore it. What it actually is: a ladder from the life you're trying to build down to what you're doing tomorrow at 9 a.m. All right, and we're back and we're about to build out what I call lovingly the goals and action sheet. Now, if some of you came up in the world of Keller Williams, you know this sheet as called the 411. And again, we don't need to get into why it's called the 411. That point doesn't matter. All right, on to the prompt. Now, I'm telling it to walk me through building my goals and action sheet as a conversation. So I'm literally saying right off the bat that I don't have all the information yet. I need the AI to actually coach me through building this. Guys, if you can take one thing away from this video, is that end every single prompt with the following sentence. What questions do you have for me? You're saying, I just rambled a whole bunch of stuff that might not make a ton of sense, and I need you to clarify it before you actually give me your output. In this case, we're giving it some guardrails. First, I want it to ask me exactly one question at a time and wait for my answer. I'm telling the AI how to coach me, okay? Don't stack questions. Second, when we reach the final weekly action, force every action through this filter. What is the one thing that I can do this week such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? I must give credit where credit's due. That is called the focusing question, and it is from the book known as The One Thing. So here we go. Start with the first question right now. And we're going to answer these in a live session. And I'm going to use the frameworks from who I call Agent A, who is the made-up scenario that we've been using so far. To lock in your 1-year goal, we have the core production metric of what it already knows to be my goal. Now, what is the precise database count target that you want to hit by the end of the year to make the volume predictable? I'm going to make up some numbers. I'm going to say 750 people in the database. Why not? Make up some arbitrary numbers without me actually having to do any of the math, either in my head or on a calculator. Okay, so target locked in. Okay, database side, it's pretty clear right off the bat. I need to add 500 new contacts, okay, requiring 42 new additions. Now, moving to a 3-month milestone, considering the seasonal ramp up and your goal of 3 closings in Q1, how many total closed plus pending transactions do you need on board by day 90 to stay on track for your 20 deals? So I'm gonna put myself in the shoes of agent A, and I'm gonna say I wanna blitz this. I want to actually have a higher number than what I think I might rightfully need. I'm going to say 10, okay. All right, so 10 total closed plus pending transaction. That's seriously front loading the year. That means that I really got to hustle in quarter one. Moving to month one milestone. To build a pipeline that yields 10 closed or pending by day 90, how many signed client agreements do I need? Now is when I actually need to do the math. So I'm gonna actually say, oh shoot, that goal is really high. Can you actually help me with that math? Can you actually help me with that math? Because the goal seems lofty, but I'm feeling committed. Remember, I told it to act like a coach, and we're building out what's called a 411, or what I call a goals in action sheet or execution cube. Sometimes I'll call it an execution queue, but that doesn't fully encapsulate that it also has a annual and monthly goals to it. Okay, so to have 10 deals closed under contract by day 90, you need an active client inventory moving through the pipeline early. Okay, so it's saying I really need to stack up the top part of that pipeline funnel. Real estate sales cycle, blah, blah, blah. Target, signing 5 clients in month 1 builds that base and yields. All right, I like it. Let's go with this. Perfect. Getting 5 in January is no easy feat, especially for an agent in Agent A's situation. If you agree with that, put it in the comments. Month 1 milestone locked. All right, now we drop the final level, weekly actions. Okay, so we will use 3 priorities from your business plan. Okay, so it's drawing things from the business plan we've already written. Again, that's the benefit of doing everything in a single chat thread. And don't forget, Gemini has a massive context window. Okay, client acquisition, retention, and scale. Okay, apply our filter. What's the one thing you do this week such that by doing it? Okay, so I'm gonna say, I'm going to go through my current pipeline and update their motivation so I know where each one stands and I know what gap I need to fill. Perfect. So I'm telling it what I would literally coach a client through is I would say, look at your current pipeline right now. Does it currently actually support your goals? If the answer is no, now you know where your gap actually lives. That clears the fog immediately. Week 1 action locked. Now let's move to priority 2. All right, apply the filter. What's the one thing you can do for client retention and database growth? All right, I'm gonna say add 2 open houses to my week to grow the database early to get to the 500 additions. Now, please excuse my English, like I'm typing really fast, and the thing is the AI knows how to sort things out in the end. This is not perfectly typewritten. You guys get actually what's going on. Highly tactical move, week 2 action locked. Hold 2 strategic open houses. Now let's look at priority 3. Okay, now I'm going to ask it to help me coach through this one. What I wanted to say is, what I need to do is I need to start locking in potential transaction coordinators. That's what I wanted to say. Let's test it out. What I wanted to say is I want it to tell me I should be looking for, candidates. If you wait until you sign those 5, you will immediately get pulled into paperwork. So do it now. It did its job without me telling it how to do its job. Imagine that. Okay, perfect. Love this. Okay, hang tight. We're gonna be back with the walkthrough on the next section. And that's the ladder from top to bottom. And the bottom rung is a thing I can actually do this week. In fact, this is the connective tissue between what you want and what you actually do. All right, step 4 gets the biggest reaction every time I teach it live. Your operations manual. You think it takes months to write? It takes 10 minutes of talking. Every experienced agent is carrying a business that only runs because it's stored in their head. You know exactly what happens when a listing goes live, and in what order, with what language, and none of it is written down anywhere, which means you can't hand it off, you can't audit it, and on your worst week, you skip a step and find out 3 weeks later at the closing table. Writing it down feels like a project you'll do in a slow season, and a slow season never comes, so we don't write it, we talk it. All right, and we're back to the walkthrough. What we're gonna be doing is building just part of a playbook, or rather, we're gonna be building part of an operations manual. We're gonna be building a playbook that should live inside a larger operations manual in general. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paste in the prompt that I need to actually start building the playbook, okay? So notice right away what it says here. It's actually saying that below is a raw, unedited voice memo transcript of me explaining how I take a listing from signed agreement to live on the MLS. So what I'm doing is I'm asking it to build a listings process playbook that should live within a larger operations manual. I'm going to ask it to turn it into a formal operations playbook using this exact 7-part structure, okay? So purpose, why does this system exist? Key principles, step-by-step SOP. One thing that people often skip is the standard operating procedures, what SOP stands for. Dialogues and templates. This is my emails and my talking points that I should standardize. Tools and tech stack, KPIs and standards, failure points and fixes. Okay, so right before I actually put this prompt together, I actually spent about 10 minutes just rambling on my voice memo on my phone. So every one of your phones likely has a default voice memo app. I recommend just using that and then copying and pasting the prompt. Take note on how messy the voice memo that I had put together. Okay, so when I get a signed listing agreement, the first thing to do is to text my photographer. I use the same guy every time, and I try to get photos scheduled within like 3 days. So I'm just literally speaking off the cuff for what my actual listing process actually is. And when that actually all gets inputted, the AI is going to read it, it's going to interpret it. Okay, so the purpose here is not to actually be clean from start to finish, just say what you think actually happens in whatever order it actually does, and then just hit enter and see what it comes up with. Now we're going for a one-shot output here. I'm not going for, hey, ask me a bunch of questions. Now here's what makes this part important. I already gave it what I thought was going to be answers to all of its questions to begin with. Here is your opportunity to push back on the system when something just feels off. Like, hey, I know I said X, but I actually meant Y. So now let's see what it actually gave us. Purpose. All right, so it's doing things in the right order. That's what I wanted. The system automates the transition from a signed listing agreement to an active MLS launch. It eliminates missed prep steps, prevents seller miscommunication, guarantees 100% compliance before launch. Key principles, here are the non-negotiables, okay? Written seller approval, never activate MLS. Great, awesome. Fixed launch window. Okay, all listings launch on Thursday morning to maximize weekend. I like that it gave me a standard, especially if I'm the one who's trying to be more listings heavy. All right, immediate vendor booking, hardware synchronization, step-by-step SOP. Now, oftentimes, Gemini puts things out in tables. When you paste it over to like a Google Doc that you might want to come back and revisit, you're going to need to put borders on that table. That's just a little trick that I know to actually be true. All right, so step 3. Sorry about that little glitch there. Step 3, it's giving me the step-by-step SOP. Here's the step, here's what day it actually occurs on, okay? And all the way up to the launch day. Okay, dialogue and templates. Now, I did ask it to do this. Here's where you might want to say, that's not quite my voice. Can you make set adjustments? Well, go ahead and do that. That personally, that doesn't sound like my voice. It's nothing that I would actually say, but I asked it to give it to me because this is about building a system that's repeatable. Same thing with this. Hey, if that doesn't sound like you, rewrite it. All right, tech stack. If there's something missing here, again, this is where you have the opportunity to say, all right, this is my operations manual. I'm going to do this. The point here is you have a prompt that you can just pop into one chat thread and you can work from it. KPIs and standards, potential failure points. It's got the whole kit and caboodle. Now, here is the idea with an operations manual. Like I mentioned before we actually started this part of the walkthrough, your operations manual should be a multi-tab document. Your listing process from start to finish is only one part of it. So recommended next step after this, copy and paste this into a Google Doc, a Microsoft Word doc, or whatever you actually like to use, and then come back and revisit it constantly. Okay, on to our next step. 10 minutes of talking, and that's a system somebody else could run. Immediate leverage. Now just imagine, you repeat this process for every single playbook in your operations manual. You have multiple voice memos done over a period of time, and now you own a fully completed operations Bible. All right, the last step, the whole reason the other 4 steps exist. One question, what should I do today? And the answer is never 50 things, it's only 3. Your task list isn't a task list, it's an anxiety inventory. 47 items, no hierarchy, half of them not actually yours. And every time you open it, you pay a small tax in dread and then go do the easiest thing on it. And back to the chat. Listen, guys, this is my absolute favorite part of the entire exercise because it narrows things down to only one executable action. It also gives you up to 2 supporting actions. That is my entire philosophy. That's why I love the concept of the 411 or as taught by the one thing so much, but I like to take it a step further. Instead of giving you your weekly actions, what is the one thing that you could do today such that by doing it, it empowers you to be the very best version of yourself? That's my little twist on the focusing question from the one thing. I also like to allow my clients to give up to 2 supporting actions. So let's take a look at this prompt. Based on everything in this conversation, act as my daily accountability coach and give me tomorrow's plans. Here are the rules. Exactly 1 primary action pulled from my weekly one thing. Up to 2 supporting actions maximum, never more than 3 items total, and assign each action a realistic time block. No tasks, no backlog, no filler. And tell me how you would respond tomorrow if I came back and said I missed all 3. Don't shame me, treat a missed day as data, and show me the reset conversation. You know, here's the thing about coaching entrepreneurs and real estate agents. Everything feels urgent all the time. And when I have a conversation with a coaching client and maybe they didn't do the thing that they said they wanted to be held accountable to doing, that's a conversation. It's not a shame festival. And I think that coaches that do what I call homework shaming are doing their clients a complete disservice. All right, enough of that. I'll step off my soapbox. Here's what it gave me. Primary action. Audit 100% of active pipeline contracts, ranking them by timeline and motivation to lock in top prospects for month 1 signed agreement. Awesome. It gave me what I asked it to give me from the other inputs. I told it, this is what I know I need to do to front load month 1 of quarter 1 of the year. I really need to get in touch with the people that are already in my pipeline to find out if my pipeline even supports my goals. Awesome. That's the primary action. Me as a coach and as this AI's client, I have no feedback for it. This is not anything I would personally push back on. It gave me exactly what I know I need to do today, and that's because we prompted it right from the get-go. Let's check out supporting actions. Confirm property locations and secure permissions for the open houses. It's pretty awesome. That's pretty good. It's literally what we talked about already. Contact local independent TC coordinators. This is the one thing I would push back on, not because of the action itself, but because of the strategy. Now, if you're watching this and this is you, like this scenario might actually be you, contact your brokerage office or your market center first, because sometimes there's agents in the office that would rather coordinate transactions than do sales. All right, reset protocol. A purely diagnostic data, it's not a moral failure. Perfect. Literally saying that we are going to collect data and we are going to have a conversation around it. Okay, here's the reset conversation we're exactly gonna have. And it's telling me how it's going to behave if I come back tomorrow and say, hey, look, I had a terrible day. Everything went wrong. Shit hit the fan like you would not believe. Help coach me through getting myself back on my feet. It's telling me how it's going to behave already so that I know what to expect. This is literally the perfect output, and we didn't really do all that much to make it do that. 1 primary, 2 supporting, and a first move for tomorrow morning. And I want to be straight with you about what this costs, because I'd rather you finish it than feel lied to on Sunday. What you just watched is compressed. Your first run takes closer to about an hour because you'll be thinking about your answers instead of watching me type up mine. Block an afternoon and do it once. After that, it costs you 10 minutes a morning for the rest of the year, and that trade is worth the entire pitch.